Hello and welcome to this review for Inmate to Roommate Season 1, Episode 4, The Meat Police. So we start off the episode with Kyle and Sandra, and they've just picked up Nick from being released. And they have the typical conversation how that you're feeling now that you're out. And he's, of course, pretty excited to be out and, into the free world, if you will. So they immediately go into the conversation about the house rules, and Kyle was bringing up the fact that there are going to be rules and you're going to have to follow them. And immediately, Nick got very combative, and he wasn't feeling the fact that he had to follow these rules. Um, and he basically told them that if you give him rules, a set of rules, then he'll pretty much wipe his behind with it, which was pretty extreme and rude. Um, and just the fact that he was carrying on like this and they're helping him out, that was just like too much. So, anyway, they were pretty strict about, listen, you're going to have to follow them. If you don't like it, you know what you could do. So he eventually ended up staying quiet and was just listening to them for the rest of the ride until they got home. So they get home and they show him around in the house. They show him where he's going to stay. And, he said that he'll just get himself together and just go to sleep because he was pretty tired from, I guess the excitement of the release and then having to come out and then dealing with everything. So he just decided that he'll just take it down for the night. And that was it. So then the following day, you see them, you see Nick in the living room on the sofa, and he asks Sandra what she's going to cook, and she said that she'll make some baked tortellini, so he was pretty excited about that. So out comes Kyle with the notebook and the pen, and he's just like, listen, let's just get this over with. So he said that he'll just write down the rules, and they could just agree and decide what will work best for him. And he did tell Nick, if you have any questions or anything regarding these rules, just let me know. We could just make it work for everybody. So they had the basic rules that they were setting for him. Um, like no drugs in the house, of course, no company, things like that. And he had the nerve to say, well, he'll find a way that if he's left alone at the house, he's going to have company over and can't nobody stop him, basically. So, another thing that we hear Kyle mention to Nick um, is that he's gonna have to get a job within 30 days and find his own place in 90 days. So he's letting him know, listen, I'm helping you out. We're helping you out, him and Sandra, but this is very temporary. So get on the good foot. So that was basically it with them. Um, then you have, we're finally introduced to the new set of people. So we have Tiffany, who is 28, and she runs an online clothing store. And she stays in a one bedroom apartment, and her best friend of 10 years, Quinn, stays with her. And Quinn has been um, staying in the apartment with her for about 8 months now and sleeps on the couch. So um, they have a conversation about Tiffany bringing in Ariel, who is the inmate. Now, Ariel is also 28 years old, and she's been in prison for 4 years for bank fraud and aggravated identity theft. So immediately when they mentioned that, I'm just like, wait, Tiffany runs an online clothing store? bank fraud. Doesn't sound like a good combination, but we'll see how this goes. So, of course, Quinn is very wary about Tiffany bringing Ariel into her home. So, what the plan was, or is that um, Tiffany saw a two-bedroom apartment that she was looking into. So she said she'll get a two-bedroom apartment, and then Ariel could stay in the other room. So this would lead her to subleasing her current one-bedroom apartment to Quinn. So that was the plan. So Tiffany did mention that she knew Ariel from years ago, from about 7 to 8 years ago, when like on the club scene. So they know each other from just partying at the clubs, and they were cool. She doesn't know her all that well, but they were pretty cool, and she knew when um, Ariel got in trouble, and she kept up with her all these years as support. So we find out that the two-bedroom is no longer available. So Tiffany went home and had the conversation with Quinn and broke the news to her. And she said, listen, the two-bedroom didn't work out. So we're going to have to stay. I'm going to keep this apartment, and then Ariel is going to stay here with me, which means which means that you're pretty much going to have to leave. And, I can understand why Quinn was upset because she's the best friend and she's being kicked out for someone that you don't even know that well. And so they have that intense conversation. So we see Tiffany driving, and Quinn and the little doggy were there for moral support while she went to pick up Ariel from the train station. So that was pretty much it for this new set of folks for this episode. So we'll see how that goes. Then you have Dr. Henry and DQ. So DQ has a job interview that is scheduled for 1:30. His uncle shows up. His uncle Joe shows up to Dr. Henry's house, and he he showed up like around 1:28. So he calls the uncle calls DQ and asks where he is. So DQ said, I'll be right there, I'll be there in a few minutes. So he gets there at like 1:33, but he has to go inside and get himself ready for the interview because he didn't have like his interview clothes on. So his uncle told Dr. Henry that he'll drive him to the interview. So they waited for DQ to get ready. He said it'll take him about 10 minutes. He gets ready, he comes out, and Joe was telling him to apologize to Dr. Henry for this inconvenience. So he apologizes, and you see them drive off. So they come back, and you could see that they're both Joe and DQ are pretty down, and basically he ended up getting to the interview an hour late, and this is the reason why he didn't get the job. So he's pretty bummed out about that, and he tells Dr. Henry that he didn't get the job, and that's when reality hit him like, oh shoot, I was playing around too much, and now this job opportunity is gone. What am I going to do now? And he also had to deal with you know Dr. Henry basically reprimanding him and making him understand accountability and empathy. So they had that conversation, and you see DQ getting agitated. So he said he just basically wanted to go inside, take his shower, and just, I guess, just take it easy after that intense situation. So that was that with them. Um, then you have Sharna, Mark, and Bill. So we see Bill has his food stored on the air conditioning vent on the floor. And the producers asked him what made him think about that. And, basically, he's learned a lot of tricks of the trade while being locked up. But they basically, Sean and Mark basically does not allow him to use the fridge, and meat is not allowed in the house. So he's been sneaking in the food, and he keeps it stored on the air conditioning vent to keep it good. Um, so we see him FaceTiming his girlfriend Mary, and we actually get to see what she looks like. So they're having a discussion. Well, prior to the FaceTime call, I should say, they were just on a regular call. And you hear Mary telling him that Sharna is pretty strict, and pretty much the Sharna and Mark are pretty strict, and it's kind of like worse than when he was in prison, or feeling like he's still in there with all the rules. So they have that conversation. So then we fast forward to him FaceTiming her, and he's there. He has set up or put together another sandwich. Like, he had pepperoni that he added onto his meat sandwich, so he's really ODing on this meat now. So they're talking via FaceTime, and he shows her the rule poster, and she's reading the different rules, and they're just like, what is this about? So Mark knocks on the door, and he answers, and he tells Mark to say hello to Mary, on the FaceTime. So he does that, and he notices there's food on the bed. So he said to Bill, wow, you have food in your room? That's not a good thing. That's not allowed. Um, so he questions him about Mary, and, you know, telling Bill that you've only known her for a short amount of time, and y'all are very serious, and are you sure she's the one, and your focus needs to be on other things and not that. So Mark basically feels like Bill jumped at the first person that showed him attention. So they have that conversation, and you know Bill is just like aggravated, like, this is ridiculous. So we see them in the living room, and it's Sharna and Mark on one sofa, and they're reading the Bible. And then on the other sofa across was Bill, and he said, "Oh, my books are here." So I was like, "Oh, okay, he has some books for him to read and, keep him occupied or something like that." That's what I was originally thinking. But they were a box of books from Amazon, and these books were, the box was filled with books that he wrote. It was one book, but just multiple copies. So he wrote a book about, what's it called? Sex and the Serial Killer. And it's about Robert Durst. And I'm a bit familiar with that. Well, I'm very familiar with that case from just watching, like, Dateline, 2020, those types of shows. So I've seen a couple of those specials regarding him, and so basically he knows Robert Durst, and Robert used to stay at his place um, in New York years ago, and pretty much Bill realized that Robert is not a good guy, so he kind of distanced himself. But prior to that, they were friends, and they used to have, like, conversations and stuff like that. So Bill was originally going to write a book about himself, but decided to write it about Robert instead. So, he told Mark that, yeah, I sent one of these books to Sharna, and Sharna said, yeah, but I couldn't get past the first couple of pages because the language was too harsh, and she doesn't feel like the book is going to do well because Christian, Christian people or Christians will actually want to read something like that. So she said she threw the book away, and you could just see Bill was just like, wow, like really? Like you threw it away? Like, is that serious? Um, so they went into just discussing the house rules and everything like that. And Bill said, you know what? I'm just going to, I just might end up leaving and finding my own place. But prior to that, I should say, he mentioned Mary wanting to visit or move in or something like that. And I'm just like, why would Mary want to move in to a house with her boyfriend of 3 months that's just been released into someone else's house? The audacity for me, that's just like, how old are y'all? Like, why doesn't she have a place for him to stay? Like, what's her situation that this is the, you know, this is the idea that they're coming up with? And so Sean and Mark are like, no, that's not a good idea. And so Bill asked, well, would y'all feel better if we were married? And they said no, because you don't know her that well. You don't know what her intentions are. You don't know what type of person she is and stuff like that. So that's when he said, well, maybe I should move out, find my own place. So Sharda asked him, do you have money to do so? And he said, no, but I'll find a way because I'm a hustler. So he's pretty much almost at the breaking point. So we'll see if he ends up moving out. And that was pretty much it. I'm just checking my notes just to double check. Um, yeah, that was it for this episode. I was kind of feeling type of way. My girl Artie wasn't in there. Artie is my favorite one on the show. And so, but we'll see her next week based on the preview. So we'll see what happens with her and Javon in that situation. So, again, thank you for checking out this latest review for Inmate to Roommate. Um, if you like the review, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe for future reviews and comment. Let me know what you thought about the episode and have a great night. Later. Bye.